How Rollo the Viking Conqueror settled in Normandy. The Viking Age and Rollo's rise to power. The Viking Age, 8th to 11th century, was a period of immense upheaval in Europe, characterized by raids, conquests, and territorial expansion by Norse warriors from Scandinavia. One of the most legendary figures of this era was Rollo, a Viking leader whose ambition and military prowess led to the establishment of Normandy, a territory that would leave a lasting mark on European history. Rollo, also known as Hrolfr or Rolf the Walker, was a Norse chieftain believed to have originated from either Norway or Denmark. According to medieval sources, he was a towering and fearsome warrior, so large that no horse could carry him, forcing him to travel on foot, hence his nickname, the Walker. Like many Viking leaders, Rollo sought wealth and land through raiding, and his journey would eventually bring him to the shores of Frankia, modern-day France. The Viking raids on Frankia. The late 9th and early 10th centuries saw Frankia constantly plagued by Viking raids. The Carolingian Empire, once strong under Charlemagne, had fragmented into smaller kingdoms, ruled by weak or warring monarchs. This vulnerability made it an ideal target for Norsemen like Rollo, who led fleets of longships down the Seine River, plundering cities, villages, and monasteries, including Rouen, Chartres, and Paris. The Vikings, expert seafarers, utilized their longships' shallow drafts to navigate deep inland via rivers, striking at the heart of Frankish territory. Their swift and unpredictable attacks made them nearly impossible to stop, and local lords often found themselves helpless against these seasoned warriors. The Franks, unable to prevent the Viking incursions, struggled to defend their lands. The Vikings not only looted the rich monasteries and settlements, but also demanded enormous tributes, or danegeld, from rulers who sought to buy temporary peace. The Siege of Chartres and Rollo's deal with King Charles. In 911, Rollo and his forces laid siege to Chartres, a major Frankish stronghold. However, this time, the Vikings faced significant resistance. The Franks, led by King Charles the Simple, rallied their forces and repelled Rollo's army in a decisive battle. Realizing that constant warfare was costly and unsustainable, Charles sought a diplomatic solution. That same year, Rollo was invited to the Treaty of Saint-Clair-sur-Epte, a historic agreement that would change the course of European history. In exchange for ceasing his raids, Rollo was granted lands in Neustria, a region in northern Frankia that would later be known as Normandy, the land of the Northmen. The birth of Normandy and Rollo's rule. Rollo's new domain was strategically located along the Seine River, giving the Vikings control over key trade routes and access to fertile lands. In return for this grant, Rollo pledged loyalty to King Charles and agreed to convert to Christianity, a common condition imposed on Viking leaders by European rulers. According to legend, as part of the agreement, Rollo was required to publicly demonstrate his submission to the Frankish king by kissing his foot, an act of humility. However, the proud Viking allegedly refused to bow, instead commanding one of his warriors to perform the act on his behalf. The warrior, rather than kneeling, lifted Charles's foot so abruptly that the king fell backward, much to the amusement of the Norsemen. Despite this awkward introduction, Rollo took his new role seriously. He fortified Normandy against rival Viking groups and Frankish nobles, establishing law and order in a land that had long suffered from instability. Under his rule, the Norse settlers assimilated with the local Frankish population, adopting their customs, language, and governance while still preserving their warrior traditions. The Norsemen gradually embraced Christianity, built churches, and formed alliances through marriage with local noble families, ensuring their long-term presence in the region. Rollo's governance and the transformation of Normandy. Rollo proved to be more than just a warrior. He was also a capable ruler. He introduced laws that helped secure the land from further Viking incursions and strengthened the local economy. His administration encouraged the development of towns, trade, and agriculture, allowing Normandy to flourish under Viking leadership. Unlike previous Norse rulers who simply plundered and moved on, Rollo recognized the benefits of a stable and well-governed territory. He protected merchants and travelers, encouraging trade between Normandy, Frankia, and Scandinavia. This new prosperity helped transform Normandy from a lawless frontier into a thriving duchy, solidifying its place in medieval Europe. Rollo's legacy and the rise of the Normans. Rollo ruled Normandy until around 927, when he gradually passed leadership to his son, William Longsword. By then, the Norse settlers had intermarried with the Franks, blending their cultures into what would become the Norman identity. This fusion of Viking and Frankish traditions produced a formidable warrior class known as the Normans, who would later make history on the world stage. Rollo's descendants would go on to achieve legendary feats, the most famous being William the Conqueror, who, in 1066, led the Norman invasion of England, becoming King William I of England. This conquest would forever change the course of English history, bringing Norman-French influence into the English language, government, and aristocracy. The Normans introduced feudalism, castle building, and administrative reforms that shaped medieval England for centuries. Beyond England, Norman adventurers played significant roles in Italy, Sicily, and the Crusades, demonstrating the far-reaching impact of Rollo's legacy. The descendants of Viking warriors, once feared as barbarian raiders, had evolved into powerful European rulers and conquerors. Conclusion: from Viking raider to founding father of Normandy. Rollo's story is one of transformation, from a fearsome raider to a respected ruler who laid the foundation for one of medieval Europe's most powerful regions. His legacy extends far beyond Normandy, influencing the political and cultural landscape of both France and England. Was Rollo a ruthless invader or a shrewd leader who adapted to the changing tides of history? Perhaps he was both. One thing is certain: his bold actions and the Viking spirit of conquest and resilience helped shape the medieval world in ways still felt today. The once feared Norseman who sailed down the Seine seeking plunder ended his life as a duke, a Christian, and the patriarch of a dynasty that would leave an indelible mark on history.